everybody. Thanks for joining this morning or on your own time for this recording. Happy Sunday. Let's begin just finding a comfortable seat, closing down our eyes or softening our gaze. Really relaxing your hands onto your knees or onto the floor. Or this morning, if you need a little more connection, maybe one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. Feel where your sit bones are making contact with the earth and let them be really heavy, really held. Let your shoulders melt down your back. Maybe swallow, bringing some awareness to your throat, to the back of your neck, and try to let something release there. Relax your belly, relax your ribs, your feet, your facial muscles. And bring some awareness to any sensations you're feeling in your body, any tightness or soreness or openness. And then any emotions that are coming with you today on your mat. Noticing the way your breath is flowing in and out, maybe shallowly, maybe deeply. Noticing your mind, what thoughts are coming in, your energy level, if you're lethargic or feeling pretty amped. Just really recognizing and then allowing it all to be here. We all hear those, people who say they feel like they're sleepwalking through their lives or just going through the motions. Perhaps that's been us at at times, probably. It's the human experience, I think, and really devoting the next hour to coming into the present moment, which is where we really awaken into the aliveness of being here, of being alive, of being human. Not by shutting down the rushing thoughts, but rather by being the observer of them. Oh, how interesting that you're thinking about that thing you have to do later, you little cutie pie. Bring in some love and kindness to it, knowing that meditation and the yoga practice is not about having a perfectly still mind. It is about being the wise woman observer of thoughts and sensations and energetic changes and loving them all, allowing them all, being there with them all. Maybe bring your awareness to your five senses. This is a really good practice for coming back into the present moment, paying attention to your heartbeat, your breath, the sounds around you, the smells, the taste in your mouth. The intention of this class will just be to wake up to the here and now, the present moment, and we wake up again and again and again. Here now, then here now, then here now. On your next exhale, let out a sigh. Or maybe a humming sound. Mm. You can blink your eyes open or leave them closed if you'd like, and just begin to make really small circles in one direction with the trunk of your body, rounding your back and then expanding your heart forward, just really small and gentle in the beginning of our practice. And when you feel ready, making them a little bit bigger, a little more expansive, and then a little bit more contractive. Maybe even tucking your chin to your chest on the contraction. And then switching directions and beginning with really small circles, as slow as you want to move. Really just honoring that a yoga guide, a yoga teacher is just in her own body too, in her own experience. So really trusting yourself to guide you through your practice. Then making those circles bigger. And when you feel complete, returning to stillness at the center. Notice any changes. Maybe a little buzzing in your body has started. You're creating some warmth. And let's just take a few shoulder rolls up and down, feeling those shoulder blades trace down your back. Maybe wiggling your jaw, bringing awareness to that. Mouth slightly open to allow it to slacken. And returning to stillness. On the inhale, we're going to look to the left. And on the exhale, look to the right, just moving really slowly to begin. Inhaling left, exhaling right, trying to keep those shoulders really melty down your back. Mm. 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 One more complete round. And return to center and to stillness. Then taking your left hand and just sitting on it. So that sit bone is on the top of your hand, palm facing down to the earth. Your elbow doesn't have to be completely straight, but you can energetically work toward that. And then tilt your right ear to your right shoulder. Keeping that chest expansive, those shoulder blades just energetically moving toward each other. And then tilting your chin up toward the sky. Full breath here. And then down toward your right knee. Full breath here. And then just continuing to move through that axis. When you find a tight pocket, just staying there and breathing. That's what we're here for, is to explore and to learn more about our bodies. And returning back up to center, removing that hand. That's a great idea, Amanda. I love that. Maybe some just little circles, half circles from shoulder to shoulder. Or just letting it hang really heavy with gravity before rolling back up to neutral, and right hand under that sit bone. Expanding that heart space, those collarbones really shining, and then left ear to left shoulder. Really deepening that breath, letting it help you find that nourishment, that release. Maybe giving voice to your breath. And then tilting your chin toward the sky. And down toward that left knee. And using this time to explore yourself. Mm. Maybe swallowing into that tightness. Mm. And then returning to neutral. Maybe dropping that head in half circles again. Removing that hand, coming back to the center in stillness. And we're going to leave our head just as it is and work on some spinal flexion. So we're going to inhale, shoulder blades energetically move toward each other, shine that chest forward. And on the exhale, round into that back. And again, the head stays as it is. And it's going to go a little faster. So we're going to inhale, exhale, round. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Stillness. When you're ready, meeting me on all fours. Hands spread wide, weight evenly distributed throughout those hands, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. You can untuck those toes. You're going to look over your right shoulder and then bring your hip to the right as well. So you're creating this compression in the right side body and this real opening in the left side body. Breathe into those left ribs. And then switch, looking over to the left, wagging that tail to the left, compressing left side body, opening right ribs. And then just moving through a few more of these at your own pace. Meeting me back in a neutral spine, and then just taking some small circles over your wrists. Moving in one direction. And then switching directions. Returning to stillness and then flipping those hands so that your fingers now are pointing back toward your knees, if this is accessible to you. If not, you can point your fingers so they're out toward the sides of your mat. That's just a little bit less intense. So see where you're at today. And then just some really little circles here. Switching directions. And then as slowly as you can, lifting the palm of the right hand up all the way through the fingers, maybe giving it a circle or two, placing it back on the earth, fingers pointing toward the top of your mat. And then the left as slow as you can, lifting that palm, those fingers, a few circles, and then planting it to the earth. Now we're just going to take some cat-cows, inhaling, tailbone tilts forward, gaze is up. And then exhale, tailbone tilts down, gaze is toward your navel, navel into the spine. Inhale, cat, expand, exhale, cow, and round. And if for whatever reason your neck is feeling tight today, you can just leave your head as it is and just do the tailbone tilts. So just tilting your tailbone up toward the sky and then tilting it down toward the earth. Really still working that thoracic spine. And then returning to stillness. Maybe dropping that head, letting it hang heavy. Relaxing that jaw. And then head back to neutral, looking down at your mat. Right leg extends behind you, hovering off the floor. Toes flex down toward the earth. And then you're going to bring it up and over to the left side of your mat and look over your left shoulder toward your left. Nope, those are your right toes. Feeling that opening in the right side body, deepening your breath. And then bringing that leg back behind you and then over to the right side of your mat. Foot plants flat so that pinky edge really grounding in, rooting into the floor. And then twisting that right arm up toward the sky. Really twisting from the navel. And then maybe tucking those left toes and sitting back and extending that arm forward. So now you're getting a left toe stretch. If that sensation's too intense, you can just untuck the toes. And we're just going to flow through those two movements. So twisting up, right hand toward the sky, and then sitting back and extending that arm forward. Two more times with your own breath, inhaling to twist, exhaling to release. Inhaling to twist, release. Beautiful. Meeting me back in all fours. Maybe taking a moment in a child's pose, big toes to touch, knees out wide. Maybe making a pillow with your hands or your forearms to rest your forehead on. Still early in our practice. Still taking our time to warm our bodies. Really honoring that you are just here this morning on your mat, following your breath. And meeting me back on all fours for the other side, extending left leg behind you, toes flexed down toward the earth, and bringing that leg up and over to the right side, and then looking over your right shoulder. And then bringing that leg back behind you and up and over to the left side, planting that foot into the earth, rooting through the pinky side, keeping that right hand planted, then twisting that left side, left fingers to the sky. Maybe tucking those right toes, sitting back onto that right foot and extending the arm forward. And then you know the drill. Just flow through those at your own breath, inhaling to twist, exhaling to release down. Mm. And when you feel complete, meeting me back on all fours and then sitting back into a child's pose. If you have your props, a yoga bolster, or anything that'll give you height, a stack of books, a rolled up blanket, pillows from your bed, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our right hand and place it a little bit elevated on whatever you have to elevate. And then our left hand is going to be on the floor in front of us that we can just use as a pillow. And you're just in your child's pose with this shoulder opening. Really breathing into that armpit space. And just bringing your awareness to if you're trying to chase sensation, if you're trying to intensify the sensation, and instead maybe reframe so that you're really just settling into what is. Maybe even pulling back so the sensation isn't so great. This sort of restfulness is the resistance the world needs. One woman's opinion. Mm. Coming back to your senses. Maybe feeling the way your belly presses against your thighs on the inhale, coming back to your body. And then just really slowly and mindfully switching out so that left palm is on the prop and your right arm comes down, maybe to serve as your pillow. We're here for 8 deep breaths. Focus on that. Mm. Mm. In these moments where we awaken our hearts and minds, the only place they can truly be awake is in the present. We free ourselves from the past, free ourselves from the future, free ourselves from the clutches of control, to just settle here and now where we are safe and we are held and we are together. On your next inhale, rising slowly back up to all fours, maybe removing any props off to the side. Walking your hands just a little bit in front of you because we're going to come into our first downward facing dog, Adho Mukha. Tucking those toes, And raising those hips. Okay, first down dog. So just be really gentle with yourselves. Let's refine this just a little bit. Up high on your tippy toes, bending deeply into your knees, gently drawing that chest toward the thighs, and then melting those heels just toward the earth. They don't need to make it there, they don't even need to be close. Maybe just gently straightening into those knees, but they don't need to be anywhere close to straight. On your next inhale, right leg raises up behind you, hips squared, toes pointing down toward the earth. And then opening up that hip and bending that knee if it feels good, hips stacked on top of each other, maybe making some circles with that hip in one direction and then the other. And then returning to those squared hips, three-legged dog, and crossing that right leg behind the left, planting that right foot on the earth, and then just really slowly and mindfully walking those hands towards your feet. Knees can be deeply bent. Let those hands be a little bit out in front of you so you're really feeling that stretch through the back body as well as through the legs. Okay, now just check in with those little toes. Maybe wiggle them. Maybe try to create space. Make sure we're not clutching. Letting that head hang heavy. Maybe shaking your head yes or no. And then unwinding those feet so they're just standing next to each other, deeply bending into that right knee, planting the right hand on the floor and twisting up with the left toward the sky. Maybe rolling that wrist, maybe even that elbow. Ooh, really taking care of our joints. And then unwinding back down to the earth. Walking those feet as wide as your mat, toes are slightly out to the heels, bending deeply into those knees, maybe reaching for opposite elbows and just dangling pose. Letting everything be heavy. And then really slowly, vertebra by vertebra, rolling up to standing, head arriving last. Tadasana, mountain pose. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale through heart center, folding forward over those legs. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands can be on shins or thighs, just to elongate that spine, head in line, looking down at the mat. And then exhale to fold over those legs again. We're going to walk the hands in front of us out into the quickest plank of your life, and then slowly lower down all the way onto your belly. Untuck those toes, bring those feet together, hands by the shoulders, shoulder blades roll down the back. Head is going to stay with you. So gaze isn't going to go to the ceiling in this cobra. We're just going to really gently, using our back strength, hands light, arch up into cobra, and then release down. Again, head staying with you to keep that spine alignment up on the inhale into cobra. Exhale and release. Just one more time. Inhale into cobra. Exhale, release. Tuck those toes, come through the knees into all fours, and then press back up into Adho Mukha, downward facing dog. Okay, let's do some lion's breath. Check in with that jaw and face. Inhale through the nose, and on the exhale, stick at that tongue and make a ha sound.
High up on the tiptoes of our toes, bending deeply into those knees, gently drawing chest toward thighs, tailbone tilting up toward the sky, and then melting those heels to the earth. Inhaling that left leg up behind you, three-legged dog. Maybe bending into that knee, opening that hip so that hips are stacked, feeling that stretch. Maybe making some circles or just staying in stillness. Returning to three-legged dog, hips squared, and then crossing that left foot behind the right on the floor, slowly walking those hands up. Taking some deep breaths here in this cross-legged forward fold. Mm, mm. Maybe uncrossing that left leg, bending deeply into that left knee, planting left hand and twisting right fingers up toward the sky. Your gaze can be down, it can be up, or it can just be neutral. Unwinding that hand down toward the earth. And now grabbing your props if you'd like. You don't need props for this. Bringing those feet as wide as your mat, toes slightly out. And we're going to drop down into Malasana or Yogi Squat. Trying to expand that heart forward, hands to heart center. Definitely can find some movement here if that feels good. I love that, Amber, the side to side, working through that ankle. Or sometimes, some days, stillness is what we crave. On your next inhale, you're going to raise up, root to rise, pressing through those feet, arms big up. And then exhale and squat back down, hands through heart center. We're just going to do that one more time. Inhale up, big five-pointed star. Exhale, back down to Malasana. Removing any props out from underneath you, maybe coming down onto all fours, moving those hips side to side, maybe making some circles with the hips. And just taking some time here. Whenever you're ready, meeting me in downward facing dog. This is our last little flow for the day, and then we enter into our nice yin shapes. Inhaling that right leg up behind three-legged dog. Exhaling, bringing that knee to your nose, rounded spine, shoulder blades pulling apart, and then stepping that foot through, dropping that back knee, untucking those back toes, raising up, Anjaneyasana. Dropping those hands back down to the earth, pressing behind you. But now we want our hip to be over our knee. So if this front leg is still bent, you can press that heel out so it's straight into a half split. Keeping that hip over knee. And you can either keep your back straight like we do in the Hatha tradition, or you can round forward into a more yin-like shape. Then just stretching into the ankle a little bit, taking these toes and putting them down onto your mat. And then flexing back up and then opening that pinky toe
so that you're doing an external rotation. So pinky toe toward the mat and then back up, and then big toe toward the mat. And they're just playing through that, whatever feels good. And then walking both hands over to the right. So they're on the outside of this extended leg. Just feeling that twist and that opening in the left side body. Hands coming back to frame that front foot. Now we're just going to move through this, inhaling into your lunge, and then exhaling into your half split. Inhaling and expanding that heart forward. Exhaling into that half split, maybe rounding. And just continuing there with your own breath. Or stillness, of course, is always an option wherever you need it. The next time you find yourself in your lunge, untuck those back toes, lift that knee up the earth. So you're in like a runner's lunge. Really plant those feet into the earth. I'll make sure your toes aren't clutching. Maybe give those front toes a wiggle. Plant that right hand on the inside of your right foot and then twist up toward the sky with your left fingers. Now root down with your feet and rise up into a high lunge in a twisted shape. I know this is crazy. Hands to heart center, twist back to the front. Maybe close your eyes and see what that does to your balance. Eee! Maybe giggle at yourself. Hands back down to frame that front foot, and then just step back into your down dog. Let's take a little break in child's pose, maybe closed-kneed child's pose. Maybe hands fall behind you, palms up. Giving those front hips some compression before we go into our other side. Maybe horse lips on your exhale. Releasing that jaw and those facial muscles. And when you're ready, however it's best for you to get there, meeting me back in our down dog, last side of our vinyasa flow. Maybe when you get to your down dog, just walking that dog a little bit, bending into one knee and then the other before returning to stillness, making your own refinements here. Left leg lifts up behind you, three-legged dog, and then knee to the nose, rounding that back, shoulder blades pulling apart, and then stepping that foot through, dropping back knee, untucking toes, arms raise up overhead, Anjaneyasana. And that back knee can be under hips, so you're more in this shape, or you can just gently move it back to feel more of an opening in that right hip. But again, check in with yourself. Am I just chasing sensation, or do I really just feel good upright? Hands coming back down, moving back behind you, hip over knee, and then if you need to or want to, straightening that front leg out, half split, flexing those toes up to the sky, elongating that spine forward and then rounding if you'd like. And then playing with that ankle and foot flexion, front, and then externally rotating pinky toward the mat, internally rotating big toe to the mat, and just working through there.
And then walking both hands over to the left side, outside of that left leg, feeling that twist, that stretch. I like to think about this as like we're not here to stretch, we're here to notice what comes up when we move into our body. So, really be present with your sensations and your emotions. Mm. And then walking those hands back to frame the front foot. And you know the drill. We're just going to move through this little flow of inhaling into that lunge, exhaling into that half split. We got some breaths here. Enjoy it. Make it your own. Next time you find yourself in that lunge, untuck the back toes, lift up that knee, plant the left hand on the inside of that left foot. Option to use props to raise up the floor always, and then twist right hand toward the sky. And now root down into those feet. Press up to rise into a high crescent lunge, twisted. Here for just one more breath. Relax those shoulders. Hands into heart center, toward back to the front. Maybe close those eyes to explore balance. And then hands frame the front foot. Left meets right into downward facing dog. Drop down onto those knees. And just mindfully meet me in caterpillar pose, both legs extended out in front. Great place to use a prop. You can place it underneath your knees. We're going to begin with an inhale, back really elongated, feeling that length from the sacrum all the way up to the crown of the head. And then rounding forward. Maybe nose nestling into those knees. Really taking this time to find your stretch. We'll be here for 3 to 5 minutes. Another option is the prop could be on top of your legs if you wanted to drape over it. So there's just a lot of options here. Remembering that in yin, we are getting to about 50 to 70% of our stretching capacity. So we don't want it to be an overwhelming or aggressive stretching sensation. And once we find that, committing to stillness for a length of time. Returning to that seat of observation where we are observant of our thoughts and our emotions and our bodily sensations, but we are not possessed by them. Um, Forward folds are really good for dropping us into our parasympathetic nervous system. So, really acknowledging a restful place that we're entering to end our practice. Honoring that your mind may still be active and that you can recognize and allow that without being owned by it. Maybe that you're calm, safe, relaxed. Oh, maybe letting you sigh on these next few exhales. Hmm. 5 more deep breaths here. Hmm. And on your next breath, slowly unfurling back up, maybe keeping those eyes closed, trying to maintain this state of calm, moving that prop out and adjusting it so that it runs lengthwise on your spine. If you don't have a prop, that's totally okay. You can just come to lay flat on your back, soles of the feet to touch, knees open wide, and coming down into a supine butterfly, Supta Baddha Konasana. Maybe hands are open wide, palms up, or maybe it feels more restful to have one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. Wherever you are, bringing awareness to any places in your body that may be holding, gripping, and send your breath there, visualizing them opening like a closed fist, opening finger by finger, or a flower blooming petal by petal. Relax your jaw, your belly, space between your eyes. And notice that even in stillness, we're always in movement, following the waves of our breath.
Perhaps you want to end your practice with a mantra to take into your day. May my heart and mind awaken. May I be free. 5 more deep breaths here. Letting that belly grow and then drop, filling up those ribs, those lungs, that chest, that throat with your breath. Mm. Mm. Keeping with this calm, just remove that prop from beneath you if you have one and come flat onto your back. Bringing both knees into your chest and maybe clasping wrists, giving them a little hug. And then opening your arms up into a T and dropping your knees over to the left into a supine twist. Option 2, place the bolster between your knees or under that left knee. Option 2, be in fetal position instead. But if you're choosing the twist, trying to, on the exhale, release your both shoulder blades heavy into the mat. You've done a lot of twisting today, really wringing out those organs, eliminating toxins. Drink a lot of water today and really take care of yourself. At the bottom of your next exhale, push out all of the breath, squeeze up on your pelvic floor and lift both knees up back to your chest. Maybe giving them a hug, maybe rocking back and forth or making small circles on your sacrum. And then opening your arms out into a T and dropping both of those knees over to the right. Option to place your props wherever they feel most supportive, where they can help you relax more, melt more into them, raise the floor up to you. Notice if you're gripping anywhere in your body, your glutes, your hips, your toes, and letting them release, letting them be slack. Mm. Hmm. At the bottom of your next exhale, squeezing the pelvic floor and lifting those knees back to center. Hugging them tight. Maybe this time you can even try to reach for opposite elbows, really finding that compression. And then curling your head up, forehead meets the knees into a tight, tight ball. Holding at the top of your next inhale, retaining that breath. And then on the exhale, releasing into Shavasana. Final resting pose. Finding your most comfortable final shape where we integrate all of the breath, all of the presence, all of the safety in our senses. If anywhere feels tight, giving it a squeeze and then releasing it. Maybe balling up those hands into tight fists and then letting them go. May my heart and mind awaken. May I be free. I'm going to leave you in your Shavasana. Please stay here as long as you can. Maybe you even drift off into daydreams or sleep. And when you awaken, just doing it slowly and gently, really just treating yourself real sweet the rest of the day. It just makes my heart shine with its just truest purpose to practice with the people I love. So I just see you. I see your light. I see your goodness. I see your truth. And namaste.